Have you been considering remarriage but felt a subtle instinct urging you to pause? That quiet voice might be wiser than you think. Love later in life can be profoundly healing, but it also brings complexities that are rarely discussed. By now, you've built a life, routines, relationships, possibly raised children or grieved a great loss. Inviting someone new in isn't just about companionship. It changes legal, financial, and family dynamics in ways that can be difficult to unwind. In this video, we'll explore 5 essential truths every person over 70 should understand before remarrying. These insights aren't meant to discourage you, but to empower and protect you. Unlike love in your younger years, love now is about merging 2 full lives, not starting from scratch. And with that comes deeper responsibilities and risks. Number 1, the legal and financial consequences most people overlook. While love is powerful, it isn't the only factor to consider. Remarrying at this stage can quietly impact your Social Security benefits, your will, your pension, and even your tax situation. These shifts don't make noise. They unfold quietly in legal documents and financial forms. For example, if you're receiving survivor benefits from a previous spouse, those may be reduced or lost entirely upon remarriage. Pensions from government or military service could also change. If you haven't updated your estate plans, a new marriage could unintentionally redirect the inheritance you meant for your children. Take Carl, a 76-year-old widower who married a lovely woman without revisiting his paperwork. After his death, his children were shocked to find his pension had transferred entirely to his new wife, erasing what he had planned to leave behind. Carl didn't do anything wrong. He simply didn't realize the legal and financial rules had changed. Taxes can also be affected. While some couples may benefit from filing jointly, others, especially those with retirement income, property, or investments, might end up in a higher tax bracket, losing access to certain deductions or support programs they once qualified for. At this point in life, protecting your heart also means protecting your assets and intentions. You've spent decades building security. Don't let a lack of information undo it. Love is still very much possible, but it needs to be anchored in awareness. With the right planning, your second chapter can be both joyful and secure. Number 2, how emotional needs shift with age. When we think about remarriage later in life, it's tempting to imagine it as a joyful second chance, companionship, laughter, and the feeling of being needed again. But there's something few people say out loud. The emotional needs that shaped your first marriage may not be the ones that serve you best now. At 70 or 75, your priorities have likely evolved. You're no longer building a life from scratch. You're protecting the life you've already created. For many older adults, it's not traditional romance they crave, but mutual respect, emotional companionship, and independence, not daily dependence. If those deeper needs aren't acknowledged, they can get buried under emotions like loneliness or nostalgia, leading to rushed decisions that quietly erode your peace and freedom. I once knew Helen, 74, who remarried soon after losing her husband of 45 years. Her new husband was caring and generous, but she realized she didn't want someone to take care of her. She wanted someone who gave her space, respected her choices, and walked beside her, not ahead of her. Eventually, they redefined their relationship as 2 equals choosing each other without old expectations. Remarrying at this stage should begin with one simple question. What do I truly need emotionally right now? Maybe it's someone to share meals with, or travel with, or simply someone who listens without trying to fix things. Those are real needs, but they're not the same as the emotional bonds built in youth. And here's the truth. Your emotional energy is limited now. You likely don't have the bandwidth for constant caretaking or exhausting conflict. That's not selfish. That's wisdom. You've learned what brings peace and what drains it. This time, if you choose love again, let it come from self-awareness, not longing. Longing fades, but clarity stays. So ask yourself honestly, do I want a partner or do I want peace? Sometimes you can have both, but chasing one might quietly cost you the other. And at this stage of life, peace isn't optional. It's essential. If this resonates with you, type number 2 in the comments to let me know you're still with us. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next part. Number 3, the hidden tensions of blended families. When two people in their 70s decide to marry, it might feel like a private decision between two hearts. But in reality, it often involves many others: children, grandchildren, extended relatives, who may not feel as joyful about it. Adult children, in particular, can bring emotional complexity and quiet resistance. They may still be grieving the loss of a parent, or feel uncertain about what this new marriage means for their inheritance, family traditions, or their place in your life. And while they may not say anything directly, the discomfort often shows up as distance, hesitation, or tension that's hard to explain. I once knew Gerald, 78, who remarried after many years of being widowed. His daughter, kind but withdrawn, eventually admitted that she felt quietly replaced, not because his new wife had done anything wrong, but because her feelings hadn't been acknowledged. That conversation didn't fix everything, but it opened the door to healing. Sometimes the friction isn't emotional, it's financial. When families see assets reallocated or wills rewritten, it can fracture trust and create deep, long-lasting divisions. You don't owe your family every detail, but you do owe them honesty, space for dialogue, and reassurance when possible. Before you remarry, have the hard conversations. Talk to your children and close relatives. Share your reasons, your hopes, your boundaries. Let them ask questions, even if they're uncomfortable. You don't need their permission, but you may need their presence far longer than their approval. Because in the end, a marriage's success at this stage of life won't depend solely on love. It will also depend on how well you navigate the emotional ripple effects of blending lives, histories, and families. And that's not just about romance, it's about emotional maturity. And by now, you've lived long enough to know the hardest talks are often the ones that bring the deepest peace. Number 4, the caregiving role no one talks about. In your 70s or 80s, love can feel like a peaceful return. Someone to chat with over breakfast, to hold hands with on a walk, to share the quiet moments after life's noise has softened. But what many don't fully consider is how easily that companionship can shift into something else. Caregiving. Most people don't plan for it, but when you remarry later in life, you're not just gaining a partner. You might also be stepping into the role of their future caregiver. And just as importantly, you may be placing your own future care in their hands. It usually begins with small things: a ride to a doctor's appointment, picking up a prescription. But before you know it, one of you might be helping the other bathe, prepping all the meals, managing medications, or juggling multiple specialists. These acts are done with love, yes, but they also require a deep well of emotional, physical, and mental energy. And in your later years, that energy may already be running low. I knew Gloria, 80, who married a man she absolutely adored, witty, kind, and full of life. But within just 2 years, his health began to decline rapidly. Suddenly, she was lifting him into chairs, helping him in the night, making hard medical decisions. She loved him dearly and never regretted the marriage, but she told me something I never forgot. I just wish we'd talked more about what might come. That's the part so many overlook. Marrying later in life isn't about building a future. It's about managing the time you have left. And while that makes it no less special, it does make it more delicate. So ask the questions people avoid. What happens if one of us becomes seriously ill? Who takes care of the bills or makes legal decisions if one of us can't? Are we ready emotionally and practically to step into a caregiver role again? Not from guilt, but from genuine preparedness? Caregiving is never just about helping with chores. It changes the relationship. It introduces a new kind of dependence, and it can test the limits of your patience and strength. For many, it stirs up old grief, the memories of caring for a spouse who passed, or fears about becoming a burden themselves. When these realities aren't discussed, they build quietly in the background, turning love into exhaustion or even quiet resentment without either person meaning for it to happen. That's why it's essential to talk, not just about who you are today, but who you might become. Discuss long-term care. Talk about what happens if mobility becomes an issue, or if one of you can't drive anymore. Will you stay in your home? Will you move closer to your adult children? Will you be open to hiring help, or try to handle everything yourselves? There are no one-size-fits-all answers, but pretending these questions don't exist won't make the challenges go away. In fact, avoiding them now can make things harder later. If you're still watching and this message resonates with you, Please type number 4 in the comments so I know you're still with us. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next part. Your support helps us keep creating thoughtful content like this to guide and encourage you. Now let's keep going. Number 5, why healing must come before a new beginning. Loneliness in your 70s can feel heavier than it did before. The silence of the house is deeper, the days stretch longer, and the absence of someone to share the simple moments with becomes more noticeable as the seasons pass. In that quiet space, it's only natural to long for companionship, for conversation, affection, or simply the sound of another person moving through your life. But here's something important. If you haven't fully healed from your past, whether it's grief from losing a spouse, pain from a divorce, or lingering emotional wounds, remarrying too soon can become a way of avoiding pain instead of truly facing it. Many older adults enter a new marriage hoping it will patch an emotional gap. And while a new partner may bring light, laughter, and comfort, they can't and shouldn't be expected to carry the weight of your unhealed sorrow. When we step into love from a place of imbalance, we may unconsciously expect too much, wanting our partner to be more attentive, more understanding, or perhaps even a reflection of the one we lost. And when they can't live up to those invisible standards, it can lead to disappointment. Not because they failed, but because we never made peace with the life we left behind. I remember Eugene, 83, who married a widow just 2 years after the death of his wife of 5 decades. He believed he was ready. He spoke of moving on and second chances, but later he confessed that he still spoke to his late wife every night. He hadn't removed her clothes from the closet. He even wore her wedding ring around his neck. His new wife never pressured him to let go, but she always felt like she was sharing space with a memory. That silent distance eventually created a quiet ache between them. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean erasing the past. It means coming to terms with it, so that when you say yes again, it's not an attempt to escape loss, but a conscious choice to welcome something new. Ask yourself the hard questions. Have I truly mourned what I lost? Am I seeking love to fill a void or to create something meaningful? Would I want this new person in my life even if I already felt whole? One of the greatest gifts you can offer someone new is a version of yourself that isn't expecting to be rescued. The kind of love that thrives in your later years isn't about completion. It's about companionship that honors everything you've become. Before you remarry, take time to honor your story. Speak with a counselor or a trusted friend. Write letters to the ones you've lost, even if you never send them. If sadness still visits you from time to time, that's okay. Healing isn't about erasing grief. It's about making space for love to sit beside it peacefully without comparison. Because the most meaningful relationships in this stage of life aren't built on the hope of starting over. They're built on the understanding that I see your past, I honor your journey, and I'm not here to replace anyone. I'm here to walk with you from this point forward. That kind of love doesn't rush. It doesn't ask you to pretend you're fine when you're not. It simply shows up gently and stays. As we wrap up this video, I invite you to take a quiet moment of reflection, not just about remarriage in theory, but about what it truly means in your life, your heart, and your future. Today, we've explored 5 truths, not to discourage you from finding love again, but to prepare you for it. Because at this stage, love isn't about falling quickly. It's about choosing wisely. It's about knowing what kind of life you're inviting someone into. It's about protecting what you've already built, honoring what you've been through, and mindfully deciding what comes next. Whether it's reevaluating your finances, understanding how your emotional needs have evolved, navigating complex family dynamics, preparing for the possibility of caregiving, or making sure your heart has truly healed. These aren't barriers. They're stepping stones towards something real. Clarity is the foundation that allows love to flourish without confusion or regret. You deserve companionship that fits your life as it is now, not as it used to be. You deserve peace, confidence in your choices, and joy in your later years that isn't dependent on anyone else to sustain it. Remarriage can be a beautiful part of that joy, but only if it's rooted in self-respect and inner wholeness. So before you say yes to anyone else, say yes to yourself. Say yes to your own timeline. Say yes to your boundaries, your wisdom, your truth. Because when you're grounded in who you are, the love you attract will be something deeper, not louder, not flashier, just better. The kind of love that doesn't drain you, doesn't rush you, doesn't ask you to be anything but fully, truly you. If this message spoke to you, whether it gave you a fresh perspective, challenged an old thought, or simply offered comfort, carry it with you. Let it shape your next conversation, your next choice, or the next piece of advice you offer someone who might need it. Thank you for spending this time with us. We'd love to hear your reflections. Leave a comment and share one thing you took away from today and how you'll carry it forward. Your thoughts matter deeply, and reading them gives us the fuel to keep creating this content for you. If you found value here, please like, subscribe, and share. It truly helps us continue this journey of informing and inspiring you. We'll see you in the next video.